The emergency beacon cut through the darkness of space like a desperate scream. Captain Marcus Chen of the UES Defiance had seen plenty of distress signals in his 20 years of service, but this one was different. The transmission came from the Kepler 442 system, deep in neutral territory where few ships dared to venture. "Captain, the signal is weak but consistent," reported Lieutenant Sarah Park from the communications station. "It appears to be coming from an uncharted moon, orbiting the fourth planet." Marcus leaned forward in his command chair, studying the holographic display that showed their current position. The Defiance was a mid-range exploration vessel, not built for combat but equipped with enough firepower to handle most threats. His crew of 42 humans had been mapping trade routes through this sector when they received the distress call. "Any indication of what species sent it?" Marcus asked. "Negative, sir. The transmission is using universal emergency protocols, but there's no identification marker." Marcus considered their options. Responding to distress calls was standard protocol for any civilized species, but this region of space was known for pirate activity, and worse. The Zephyrian Empire had been expanding aggressively in recent months, and their treatment of other species was questionable at best. "Set course for the signal's origin," Marcus decided. "Yellow alert. I want all departments ready for anything." The journey to the moon took 6 hours. As they approached, the Defiance's sensors revealed a small spacecraft partially buried in a crater near the moon's equator. The vessel's design was unfamiliar, with organic curves that suggested biotechnology rather than traditional engineering. "Life signs, Commander Torres?" Marcus asked his science officer. Commander Elena Torres, a brilliant xenobiologist with degrees from 3 different universities, studied her readings carefully. "I'm detecting one life form inside the crashed vessel. The biosignature is unlike anything in our databases, but it appears to be in distress. Any signs of other ships in the area?" "Negative, Captain. We're alone out here." Marcus made his decision. "Prepare an away team, full environmental suits and standard first contact protocols. I'll lead the team myself." "Sir, that might not be advisable," Torres interjected. "We don't know what we're dealing with." "That's exactly why I'm going," Marcus replied. "If this goes badly, I want it to be my responsibility, not someone else's." The away team consisted of Marcus, Torres, Chief Medical Officer Dr. James Wright, and Security Chief Lieutenant Commander Alex Rodriguez. They took a shuttle down to the moon's surface, landing 50 meters from the crashed vessel to avoid any potential hazards. The moon's atmosphere was thin but breathable for most species, though the team kept their helmets on as a precaution. The crashed ship appeared to have been there for several days, with scorch marks indicating it had been attacked before crashing. "Energy readings suggest the ship's power core is still active," Torres reported as they approached. "But barely. The vessel's hull had been breached in multiple places, and what looked like weapon damage scarred its surface. Whatever had happened here, it hadn't been an accident." "There," Rodriguez pointed to what appeared to be an airlock. "That might be our way in." The airlock was damaged but functional. As they cycled through, the team's universal translators activated, picking up faint sounds from within the ship. Someone was definitely alive inside. The interior of the vessel was unlike anything they had seen before. The walls seemed to pulse with a faint bioluminescence, and the corridors curved in patterns that suggested they had grown rather than been built. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as they made their way toward the life signs Torres was tracking. They found her in what appeared to be the ship's command center, though it bore no resemblance to any bridge they knew. She was collapsed against a biomechanical console, her breathing shallow and labored. Dr. Wright immediately began scanning her with his medical tricorder while the others secured the area. The alien was humanoid in basic structure, but clearly not human. Her skin had a translucent quality with what appeared to be natural markings that shifted and changed like living tattoos. Her hair was silver and seemed to move with a life of its own. Most striking were her eyes, which were larger than human eyes and held an intelligence that was immediately apparent. "She's severely injured, Doctor," Wright reported. "Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and what appears to be some kind of energy burn across her torso." The alien's eyes fluttered open, focusing on the humans surrounding her. When she spoke, her voice was melodious despite her obvious pain, and the universal translator rendered her words in English. "Please," she whispered urgently, trying to sit up despite her injuries. "You must help me, but you cannot let my mate know you were here. If Zenth discovers humans helped me, it will mean war between our species." Marcus exchanged glances with his team. This was more complicated than a simple rescue mission. "We're here to help," Marcus said gently, kneeling beside her. "What's your name?" "I am Lirelei, of the Asterian Collective," she replied, her eyes darting nervously around the room. "But that doesn't matter now. What matters is that you help me repair my ship and leave before anyone finds you here." "You're in no condition to pilot a spacecraft," Dr. Wright interjected. "You need immediate medical attention." Lirelei shook her head frantically. "You don't understand. My mate, Zenth, is a war leader among my people. He believes humans are a threat to our expansion into this sector. If he learns that humans saved my life, he will be honor-bound to declare war, to maintain his standing among the War Council." The implications hit Marcus immediately. The Asterian Collective was one of the most powerful species in this region of space. A war with them would devastate human colonies throughout the sector. "What happened to your ship?" Taurus asked, scanning the damaged systems around them. "Zephyrian raiders," Lirelei explained, wincing as she tried to move. "I was returning from a diplomatic mission when they ambushed me. I managed to escape, but not before they damaged my ship's navigation and communication systems." Rodriguez checked his scanner. "Captain, I'm picking up multiple ships approaching this system. They'll be here in approximately 4 hours. Lirelei's eyes widened in panic. "That will be the search fleet. Zenth is leading it personally. If he finds humans here, we understand the situation," Marcus said firmly. "Dr. Wright, how long would it take to stabilize her injuries enough for transport? With our medical technology? Maybe 2 hours for basic stabilization, but she really needs surgery. And repairing her ship?" Torres was already examining the alien technology. "This is incredibly advanced biotech. It's almost like the ship is alive. I think I can work with it, but I'll need time to understand the systems." Marcus made a command decision. "Torres, you and Rodriguez work on getting her ship functional. Dr. Wright, do what you can for her injuries without moving her to our shuttle. We can't risk any trace of human involvement." "Captain," Lirelei reached out and grasped his arm with surprising strength. "Why are you doing this? Your species and mine are not allies. Some would say we are natural enemies." Marcus looked into her alien eyes and saw something he recognized, despite the vast differences between their species: fear, determination, and a desperate hope that somehow things would work out. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "And because preventing a war serves everyone's interests." Torres had interfaced her scanner with the ship's biosystems. "This is remarkable, Captain. The ship's hull can actually heal itself given enough time and energy. The main problem is the navigation core, which appears to be some kind of living organism that's been severely traumatized. Can you fix it?" "Maybe. Dr. Wright, I need some of those neural stabilizers from your medical kit. If this navigation organism is anything like a biological brain, those might help." As the team worked frantically to repair the alien vessel, Lirelei drifted in and out of consciousness. During her lucid moments, she provided guidance on her ship's systems, though she repeatedly stressed the need for them to leave before the search fleet arrived. "The War Council has been looking for any excuse to move against human settlements," she explained during one of these moments. "There are factions among my people who believe humans are expanding too quickly, taking resources that should belong to more advanced species. What's your opinion?" Marcus asked as he helped Dr. Wright apply biocompatible bandages to her injuries. Lirelei was quiet for a long moment. "I have studied your species from afar. You are young, aggressive, and often reckless, but you are also capable of surprising compassion and innovation. Today proves that. Your mate doesn't share that view. Zenth is a good male, but he is shaped by his role as a war leader. He sees potential threats everywhere, and in his position, he cannot afford to be wrong about human intentions." Dr. Wright finished treating her most serious injuries. "This should hold you for a few days, but you need proper medical care soon. Can your people help with that?" "Yes, once I reach the main fleet. But first I must think of a story that explains my injuries and the damage to my ship without mentioning human involvement." Torres looked up from where she was working on the navigation system. "Got it. The biocore is responding to the neural stabilizers. I think I can get your ship functional again." "How long?" Marcus checked his chronometer. They had been working for nearly 3 hours. "Give me another hour." "We don't have an hour," Rodriguez reported urgently. "I'm detecting ships at the edge of the system. They'll be here in 90 minutes, and their sensors are much more advanced than ours." Marcus felt the weight of command pressing down on him. If they were discovered, it wouldn't just mean trouble for his ship and crew. It could spark a war that would cost millions of lives. Torres, work faster. Rodriguez, prep our shuttle for immediate departure. Dr. Wright, give her whatever medical supplies she might need. Captain, Lirelei struggled to sit up. There is something else you should know. The Zephyrian raiders who attacked me. They spoke of a larger fleet gathering near the Centauri colonies. Your people may already be in danger. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The Centauri colonies were home to over 2 million humans, and they had minimal defensive capabilities. How large a fleet? At least 50 ships, perhaps more. They planned to strike within the week. This changed everything. Not only were they trying to prevent a war with the Asterians, but human colonies were under immediate threat from the Zephyrians. We have to warn them, Dr. Wright said. We will, Marcus promised. But first we finish what we started here. Torres had managed to coax the alien ship's systems back to life. The bioluminescent walls pulsed more brightly as power flowed through them, and the navigation core that Torres had treated began to emit a soft, rhythmic glow. It's working, Torres announced with relief. The ship should be able to make it to wherever you need to go. Lirelei tested the ship's controls with shaking hands. Despite her injuries, she seemed to understand the systems intuitively. Yes, this will work, but you must go now. The search fleet will arrive soon, and if they detect any trace of human technology. Understood. Marcus stood but hesitated. Lirelei, after this crisis passes, would your people consider formal diplomatic contact with humanity? Not through war leaders or military channels, but through people like you who might see the value in cooperation. She looked at him with those large, expressive eyes. That would be very dangerous for both of us. But perhaps after some time has passed and this incident is forgotten, such a thing might be possible. We'll be listening for any signals on diplomatic frequencies. The human team quickly gathered their equipment, making sure to leave no trace of their presence. As they prepared to leave, Lirelei called out one last time, Captain Chen, your species may be young and reckless, but today you have shown wisdom beyond your years. I will not forget this. As they hurried back to their shuttle, Marcus couldn't help but feel that they had just participated in something momentous, not just the rescue of one alien, but possibly the first step toward a very different future between their species. Captain, Rodriguez said as they lifted off, long-range sensors are picking up the Asterian search fleet. They'll be here in 40 minutes, and we'll be long gone by then, Marcus replied. Set course for the Centauri colonies. We have a warning to deliver. As the Defiance jumped to hyperspace, leaving the small moon behind, Marcus wondered if they would ever know what became of the injured alien they had saved. More importantly, he wondered if their act of compassion had prevented a war or merely delayed it. Time would tell. But for now, they had done what they could. Sometimes, that was enough. The UES Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Centauri system, emergency klaxons already blaring throughout the ship. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge, his mind racing as he processed the intelligence Lirelei had given them. 50 Zephyrian ships were planning to attack the colonies within the week, and the human settlements had no idea what was coming. Communications. Get me Admiral Harrison at Centauri Command immediately, Marcus ordered. Lieutenant Park's fingers flew over her console. Sir, I'm having trouble getting through. There seems to be some kind of interference in the system. Commander Torres looked up from her science station, her face pale. Captain, I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with cloaked ships throughout the system. The Zephyrians aren't coming in a week. They're already here. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the peaceful blue-green world of Centauri Prime in the distance. 2 other inhabited worlds orbited the same star, along with numerous mining stations and orbital habitats. Nearly 3 million humans called this system home, and most of them had no idea they were already under siege. How many ships? Marcus asked grimly. I'm reading at least 40 contacts, possibly more. They're positioned at strategic points throughout the system, blocking all major shipping lanes and communication relays. Marcus felt the weight of impossible decisions pressing down on him. The Defiance was a single exploration vessel against what appeared to be an entire Zephyrian invasion fleet. By any rational calculation, they should retreat immediately and try to warn other human settlements. But 3 million people were down there, including Marcus's own sister and her family who had moved to Centauri Prime 5 years ago. Options? he asked his senior staff. Tactically, we have very few. Security Chief, Rodriguez replied honestly. The Zephyrians have us completely outgunned. Our best bet would be to try to slip past their perimeter and warn the colonies. Maybe help coordinate an evacuation. There's nowhere to evacuate to, Torres pointed out. The nearest human settlement is 4 days away by commercial transport. The Zephyrians could destroy every ship that tried to leave. Dr. Wright, who had remained on the bridge after their encounter with Lirale, spoke up quietly. What about the Asterians? If we could somehow convince them to intervene, the Asterians have no reason to help us, Marcus said. If anything, a Zephyrian attack on human colonies might serve their interests by weakening our expansion in this sector. Lieutenant Park suddenly straightened at her station. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. It's on an Asterian frequency, but the message is in English. Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. Put it through. The view screen shifted to show Lirale. Though she looked very different from when they had found her injured and desperate. She was clearly aboard an Asterian vessel now, wearing what appeared to be ceremonial robes, and her natural markings glowed with an intensity that suggested strong emotion. Captain Chen, she began without preamble. I hope you received this message in time. My mate's search fleet found my ship approximately 6 hours after you departed. I told him I had been attacked by Zephyrian raiders and managed to escape after making repairs myself. Marcus noticed that her injuries had been completely healed, testament to advanced Asterian medical technology. Zenth accepted my story, but our deep sensors detected the Zephyrian fleet massing near your colonies. Under normal circumstances, my people would consider this an internal matter between your species and theirs. However, I convinced the fleet commander that the Zephyrians pose a threat to Asterian interests in this sector as well. The image flickered slightly, suggesting she was transmitting from long range. We are preparing to engage the Zephyrian fleet, but not out of altruism toward humanity. Officially, we are protecting our own territorial claims. You must understand, I cannot openly acknowledge human assistance without compromising both our positions. Marcus exchanged glances with his crew. This was an unexpected development, but one that could change everything. The Asterian fleet will begin operations in approximately 2 hours, Lirale continued. I suggest you use that time to coordinate with your colonial defenses. The battle will be intense, and there may be opportunities for your forces to contribute meaningfully. The transmission began to fade. Captain Chen, what you did for me goes beyond simple rescue. You showed mercy to someone who belonged to a species your own people might consider an enemy. That kind of wisdom is rare in any species. Do not waste it. The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Well, Torres said finally, that changes things considerably. Marcus was already moving. Rodriguez, what are the defensive capabilities of the Centauri colonies? Limited, sir. They have about 20 patrol ships, mostly converted civilian vessels. There are also defensive platforms around the main worlds, but nothing that could stand up to a concentrated assault. But if the Zephyrians are engaged with an Asterian fleet, they might be vulnerable to coordinated attacks on their flanks. Rodriguez finished, understanding immediately. Marcus turned to communications. Park, can you break through the Zephyrian jamming to contact Centauri Command? Not directly, sir. But if I route the signal through one of the outer mining stations, do it. I need to speak with Admiral Harrison immediately. Cross, it took 20 minutes to establish contact, and when Admiral Harrison's weathered face finally appeared on the screen, he looked like a man who had aged years in the past few hours. Marcus, thank God you're here. We've got Zephyrian ships throughout the system, and they're jamming all our communications. How did you get through? Long story, Admiral. What's your tactical situation? Harrison's expression was grim. Bad. We've detected at least 40 enemy ships, and they've positioned themselves to control all major shipping lanes. They haven't attacked yet, but we're completely cut off from the outside galaxy. Admiral, you need to prepare your forces for immediate action. You're about to have unexpected allies. Marcus quickly explained the situation with the Asterians, carefully omitting the details of how they had gained this alliance. Harrison's expression shifted from despair to cautious hope. Asterians? Marcus, are you certain about this intelligence? Yes, sir. But we need to be ready to coordinate our actions with theirs. What forces do you have available? 23 ships total, plus the orbital defense platforms. Most of our captains are civilian volunteers with minimal combat training. Marcus studied the tactical display that Torres had assembled. The Zephyrian fleet was positioned in a complex formation that controlled the entire system, but if the Asterians attacked from outside, Admiral, I'm transmitting a tactical analysis to you now. If the Asterians engage the main Zephyrian fleet, there will be opportunities for smaller forces to strike at isolated groups of ships. Understood. I'll coordinate with my captains immediately. The next hour was a frenzy of preparation. The Defiance moved to rendezvous with the Colonial Defense Fleet, while Marcus worked with Admiral Harrison to develop a comprehensive battle plan. The key would be timing. Strike too early, and they would face the full Zephyrian fleet alone. Strike too late, and the opportunity might be lost. Dr. Wright had returned to his medical bay to prepare for casualties, but Torres and Rodriguez remained on the bridge, monitoring the various fleets moving through the system. Asterian ships detected at the edge of the system, Torres reported. I count 12 vessels, but they're much larger than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. Quality over quantity, Rodriguez observed. Each Asterian ship probably outguns 3 Zephyrian vessels. The weight was agonizing. Marcus found himself thinking about Lirelei and the risk she was taking by convincing her people to intervene. If this went badly, it could destroy her politically and potentially create the very war they had been trying to avoid. Movement in the Zephyrian fleet, Torres announced suddenly. They're repositioning to engage the Asterians. The main view screen showed the tactical display as dozens of ships began maneuvering throughout the system. The Zephyrians were clearly caught off guard by the Asterian arrival, but they were adapting quickly. Admiral Harrison is signaling the fleet, Park reported. All ships are to hold position until the engagement begins. Marcus watched as the 2 alien fleets approached each other. The Asterian ships moved with fluid grace, their biomechanical hulls seeming to pulse with life. The Zephyrian vessels were more conventional, angular and aggressive in design, but they outnumbered the Asterians more than 3-1. The first shots were fired simultaneously by both fleets, brilliant beams of energy crossing the void between them. The Asterian weapons seemed to bend space itself, creating visible distortions in space-time that wreaked havoc on Zephyrian formations. The Zephyrian response was more conventional but devastating in its own way. Concentrated plasma bursts that could vaporize a ship in seconds. The Asterians are drawing the main fleet away from Centauri Prime, Torres observed. Several Zephyrian groups are now isolated. Signal Admiral Harrison, Marcus ordered. Begin phase 1 of the operation. The Colonial Defense Fleet moved out. 23 ships against what had seemed like impossible odds just hours before. Marcus felt a surge of pride as he watched civilian captains who had never seen real combat, maneuvering their converted cargo haulers and mining vessels with determination and skill. The Defiance led a group of 5 ships toward a cluster of 3 Zephyrian vessels that had been positioned to guard one of the system's major shipping lanes. As they approached, Marcus could see that the enemy ships were already turning to engage the new threat. Incoming fire, Rodriguez reported. Evasive maneuvers. The Defiance shuddered as Zephyrian plasma bolts passed close to her hull. Marcus gripped his command chair as the ship's artificial gravity compensated for their violent maneuvering. Return fire. All weapons. The Defiance wasn't designed for combat, but her modest weapons array proved effective enough. Working in coordination with the other human ships, they managed to overwhelm the shields of one Zephyrian vessel and force another to retreat. Throughout the system, similar engagements were taking place. The Colonial Defense Fleet was taking losses, but they were also proving that human determination could make up for technological disadvantages. Captain, Park called out over the noise of battle. I'm receiving a transmission from the Asterian flagship. It's addressed to you personally. Marcus was surprised. In the middle of a major space battle, why would the Asterian commander want to communicate with him specifically? Put it through. The view screen split to show both the tactical display and an image of an imposing Asterian male. His markings were darker and more angular than Lirelei's, and his eyes held the cold calculation of an experienced military commander. This had to be Zenth, human captain, the Asterian said in accented but clear English. My mate tells me your species showed her unexpected courtesy during her recent difficulties. Marcus felt his blood freeze. How much did Zenth know? I am honored by her acknowledgement, Marcus replied carefully. Indeed. She also informs me that your colonies received advance warning of this Zephyrian attack through diplomatic channels. Perhaps your species is more sophisticated than some of my colleagues believe. Marcus began to understand. Lirelay had found a way to frame their assistance as something that could benefit both species without compromising anyone's political position. The Asterian Collective and humanity may have more common interests than either of us realized. Marcus said, "Perhaps. Your forces are fighting well today, Captain. That also suggests possibilities for future cooperation." The transmission ended, leaving Marcus with the distinct impression that he had just participated in the opening move of a much larger diplomatic game. The battle continued for another 3 hours. The Asterians proved decisively superior in ship-to-ship combat, but the Zephyrians fought with desperate ferocity. Several times it seemed like the tide might turn, but the combination of Asterian firepower and human tactical flexibility proved decisive. In the end, 15 Zephyrian ships were destroyed, and the remainder fled the system. The Asterian fleet had lost 1 vessel, while the human defenders had lost 7 ships with another 12 damaged. As the surviving ships regrouped around Centauri Prime, Marcus found himself looking at a very different galaxy than the one he had woken up to that morning. The rescue of a single injured alien had somehow led to the first alliance between humanity and a major galactic power. "Captain," Torres said quietly, "I'm receiving another message from the Asterian flagship." This time it was Lirelay who appeared on the screen. She was standing beside Zenth, and both of them looked pleased with the outcome of the battle. "Captain Chen," she began formally, "the Asterian Collective wishes to express our appreciation for human assistance in driving off the Zephyrian invaders. Perhaps it is time for our species to explore more formal diplomatic relations." Zenth stepped forward. "Captain, my mate has convinced me that humanity possesses qualities that could be valuable to both our civilizations. We will be recommending to the Collective Council that formal diplomatic contact be established." Marcus felt a surge of hope. The human colonial government would welcome such discussions. "Then let us begin with a simple exchange," Lirelay said. "Your injured from today's battle will be welcomed aboard our medical ships, and perhaps some of your officers might be interested in touring our vessels to discuss tactical cooperation." As the transmission ended, Marcus realized that the desperate alien woman who had begged them not to let her mate know about their assistance had found a way to turn that very assistance into the foundation for a new era of cooperation between their species. Sometimes the most important moments in history began with a single act of compassion. 6 months after the Battle of Centauri, Captain Marcus Chen stood in the observation deck of Diplomatic Station Alpha, humanity's first joint facility with an alien species. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, he could see both human and Asterian ships moving in carefully coordinated patterns around the massive station that served as neutral ground for ongoing negotiations. The transformation had been remarkable. What had begun as a desperate rescue mission and an unexpected alliance against Zephyrian raiders had evolved into the most significant diplomatic breakthrough in human history. Yet for all the progress they had made, Marcus knew that the most delicate challenges still lay ahead. "Captain Chen, the Joint Council is ready for your testimony." Marcus turned to see Commander Torres, who now served as the human liaison to the Asterian Scientific Exchange Program. She had spent the past months working closely with Asterian researchers, and the collaboration had already produced significant advances in biotechnology and space navigation. "How are they receiving the proposal?" Marcus asked as they walked through the station's corridors. The architecture was a fascinating blend of human engineering and Asterian bio-design, with living walls that could adapt to environmental changes and traditional metal structures that provided stability. "Mixed reactions. As expected," Torres replied. "The Asterian science cast is enthusiastic about the joint exploration mission. They see it as an opportunity to study human adaptability in extreme environments. But some of the military caste still have reservations about sharing technology." They entered the council chamber, a vast circular room where representatives from both species sat at a curved table that spiraled inward toward the center. The design was symbolic, representing the way different perspectives could come together to find common solutions. Lirelay presided over the Asterian delegation, her position as the architect of the alliance having earned her significant political influence. Beside her sat Zenth, whose initial skepticism about humanity had evolved into grudging respect and eventually genuine partnership. The human delegation was led by Admiral Harrison and Ambassador Patricia Wells, a career diplomat who had been brought in to manage the complex negotiations. "Captain Chen," Admiral Harrison began, "please present your assessment of the proposed joint mission to the Andromeda Transit." Marcus activated the holographic display at the center of the table, showing a three-dimensional map of local space with a highlighted route toward the edge of the galaxy. The Andromeda Transit represents one of the most ambitious exploration missions ever attempted by either of our species, he began. The ancient alien artifact discovered in the Kepler 186 system appears to be a transportation device capable of instantaneous travel to the Andromeda galaxy. The hologram zoomed in on the mysterious structure, a massive ring of unknown materials that had been broadcasting a complex signal for thousands of years. Human and Asterian scientists working together had decoded enough of the signal to understand its basic function, but actually using the device would require unprecedented cooperation. Our analysis suggests that the transit requires both human intuitive problem-solving and Asterian biotechnological integration to operate safely, Marcus continued. Neither species could activate it alone. Zenth leaned forward, his markings shifting to deeper colors that indicated serious consideration. The military implications concern us, Captain. If this device functions as your scientists believe, it could revolutionize space travel. Such technology in the wrong hands could be devastating, which is precisely why it should remain under joint control, Ambassador Wells interjected. The proposed mission would establish a shared base of operations in Andromeda, with equal representation from both species. An Asterian council member named Vialthis spoke up, her translation rendered in precise English tones. There are those among our people who question whether humanity is ready for such responsibility. Your species is young, aggressive, and often unpredictable. Marcus had expected this objection. It had been a constant undercurrent in all their negotiations, the perception that humans were too impulsive to be trusted with advanced technology. With respect, Counselor Vialthis, I would argue that these qualities are exactly why this partnership works, Marcus replied. Human adaptability has already proven valuable in several joint operations. The raid on the Zephyrian base at Wolf 359 succeeded because human tactics were unpredictable enough to surprise their commanders. Lirale gestured for attention, her own markings glowing with warm undertones. Captain Chen speaks truth. In the past 6 months, I have observed human crews solve problems that confounded our best engineers. Their approach is different from ours, but it is not inferior. The discussion continued for hours, covering technical specifications, command structures, resource allocation, and dozens of other details. But Marcus could sense that the real debate was about something deeper than logistics. It was about trust, and whether two very different species could truly work together as equals. During a recess, Marcus found himself alone with Lirale on one of the station's observation decks. Through the viewport, they could see the blue marble of Earth in the distance, a constant reminder of how far humanity had come in such a short time. You're worried about something, Lirale observed, her ability to read human expressions having improved considerably over the months. The Zephyrian Empire isn't going to remain quiet forever, Marcus said. Our intelligence suggests they're building a much larger fleet, and they're making overtures to other species who might share their concerns about human expansion. Lirale's markings shifted to darker hues, indicating concern. Zenth has received similar reports. There are rumors that the Zephyrians are offering territorial concessions to any species willing to join a coalition against the Human-Asterian alliance. How many species are they talking to? At least 6 that we know of. The hegemony of Vash is particularly interested. They control several resource-rich systems that both our civilizations need. Marcus felt a familiar weight settling on his shoulders. The Battle of Centauri had been just the beginning, not the end, of their troubles with the Zephyrians. There's something else, Lirale said quietly. The reason I really wanted this joint mission to succeed isn't just about exploration or scientific advancement. Marcus waited for her to continue. If we can prove that humans and Asterians can work together successfully on something this significant, it might convince other species that cooperation is more profitable than conflict. The Andromeda Transit could be the key to creating a true galactic alliance. And if the mission fails, then those who advocate for war will have powerful ammunition to use against both of us. Their conversation was interrupted by the return call to session. As they walked back to the council chamber, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed since that desperate day when they had found an injured alien begging for help. The afternoon session focused on crew selection for the Andromeda mission. It had been agreed that the initial expedition would consist of 2 ships, one from each species, with mixed crews to facilitate cooperation and knowledge transfer. I propose Captain Chen as commander of the human vessel, Admiral Harrison announced. His experience with interspecies cooperation makes him the logical choice. Several Asterian council members exchanged glances, and Marcus suspected they were communicating through the bio-neural networks that allowed their species to share thoughts at close range. We concur, Zenth said finally. Captain Chen has proven his ability to make difficult decisions under pressure. But we propose that exploration leader Lyra Lei serve as overall mission commander, with Captain Chen as tactical officer. Marcus was surprised by the suggestion, but as he thought about it, the logic became clear. Lyra Lei had the scientific background to understand the transit technology, the political connections to manage any complications that arose, and the personal credibility with both species to make the difficult decisions the mission would undoubtedly require. I accept that command structure, Marcus said, earning approving nods from around the table. Ambassador Wells smiled. Then we're ready to move forward with formal mission approval. The vote was unanimous, a significant achievement given the cultural and political differences represented around the table. Over the following weeks, preparation for the Andromeda mission consumed Marcus's attention. The human ship selected for the expedition was the UES Horizon, a state-of-the-art exploration vessel equipped with the latest human technology. The Asterian ship was called the Verdant Song, a bioship that was quite literally alive, with hull plating that could adapt to different environmental conditions and internal systems that could evolve to meet new challenges. The crews were carefully selected to represent the best of both species. Dr. Wright volunteered to serve as chief medical officer, eager to study alien biology in an entirely different galaxy. Torres would head the joint science team, while Rodriguez managed security for both vessels. 3 days before departure, Marcus received an encrypted message that changed everything. The transmission came from a deep-cover human intelligence agent operating in Zephyrian space. Captain Chen, I'm transmitting this through back-channel networks that the Zephyrians haven't compromised yet. The Empire is planning something big, and it's connected to your Andromeda mission. They've learned about the transit, and they're mobilizing a fleet to stop you from reaching it. Marcus felt his blood chill. If the Zephyrians captured the transit technology, intelligence suggests they plan to use the device to establish a base in Andromeda, then systematically eliminate human and Asterian colonies from a position where retaliation would be impossible. You have to warn the Joint Council immediately. The message ended, leaving Marcus staring at a situation that had suddenly become far more complicated than anyone had anticipated. He immediately contacted Admiral Harrison and Ambassador Wells, then requested an emergency session with the Joint Council. Within hours, representatives from both species were gathered in the council chamber, their expressions grave as Marcus played back the intelligence report. How reliable is this source? Zenth asked. Very reliable, Admiral Harrison replied. Agent Silver has been operating in Zephyrian space for 2 years, and her information has always been accurate. Lyra Lei studied the tactical implications with her usual analytical precision. If the Zephyrians reach the transit before we do, it could shift the balance of power in this entire sector of the galaxy. So we accelerate our timeline, Torres suggested. Leave immediately instead of waiting for next week. That's exactly what I was thinking, Marcus agreed. But we'll be going in with minimal preparation and the knowledge that we're heading into a potential combat situation. Ambassador Wells looked uncomfortable with the military implications. This was supposed to be a scientific mission, not a battle for galactic supremacy. Sometimes those are the same thing, Zenth observed grimly. The question is whether our joint crews are ready for what might be waiting for them. Marcus looked around the table at the faces of beings who had become colleagues and friends over the past months. The decision they made in the next few minutes would shape the future of multiple civilizations. I think we have to take the risk, he said finally. If we wait, we might lose the chance entirely. The vote was closer this time, but it was still unanimous. The Andromeda mission would launch immediately, racing against time and a potential Zephyrian fleet to reach technology that could reshape the galaxy. As the meeting adjourned, Lyra Lei approached Marcus with an expression he couldn't quite read. You know, this probably isn't how either of us expected things to develop when you first found me in that crashed ship, she said. Marcus smiled. No. But I'm not sure anyone could have predicted how this would all turn out. Are you ready for this, Marcus? Because once we activate that transit, there's no going back. We'll either succeed in establishing a new era of cooperation, or we'll fail in a way that could cost both our civilizations everything they've worked for. Marcus thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. A distress call, a desperate alien asking for help while begging them not to let her mate know. A battle that had saved millions of lives. A partnership that had exceeded everyone's expectations. "I'm ready," he said. "The question is whether the galaxy is ready for what comes next." As they prepared to depart for the most important mission in galactic history, Marcus reflected on how a simple act of compassion had led to this moment. Sometimes the fate of civilizations really did hang on the willingness of individuals to help someone in need, even when it seemed impossible or dangerous. The Andromeda transit awaited, and with it, the future of two species who had learned that working together made them stronger than either could be alone. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as partners, bound together by shared purpose and mutual respect. The adventure was just beginning.